Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is S. Anthony Thomas. This is Yes Anthony Says podcast episode number 492, and I'm going to name this episode The Might As Well Bandit. The Might As Well Bandit. And I'll tell you why. I ran across an old friend of mine, and I don't know if any of you guys have lived in a tough neighborhood or grew up in the hood, or you grew up in a poor neighborhood, or you grew up in a neighborhood where there was a lot of crime, but I kind of did. So, so my perspective of how things go is a little bit different. And I tend to look around. I tend to walk around as if I'm a punt returner in NFL football, because I'm always looking around, because I have been, I don't like to say victim, but I've been on the other side of violent crime. I was carjacked once. And a couple of times, people attempted to mug me. One time I just got away from the guy, and the other time let's just say he, woke up and I was already gone. Okay. So I know what it's like to be and having not been a criminal, I have never been on the other side because I've never committed a crime. But not that being said, I know what it's like to be on the other side of crime, to have someone do something to me. And so I'm always on the lookout for those things. Even when I move to an area, or I'm living in an area where the crime rate is ridiculously low, I still look around and pay attention to my surroundings the same way I would if I was in a tough area. That's burned into me, and I can't get it out. And you know what? I don't want it out. Right? Now, I call this episode The Might As Well Bandits for a reason. Now, I'm going to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. If you ever watch a movie, like some of those movies from the 80s and 90s, and even nowadays, what happens is you have the people that go in, they got the weapons, they're going to go into this person's house and rob them. It's like a drug robbery. Like they're going to go in and rob the drug dealer, and they just want to go in and when they get the money. And if they see some jewelry, they're going to grab that and they're going to get out, and they're really sophisticated. They don't want to hurt anybody. They'll do it if they have to, they're thinking, but they're figuring that we're going to go in there, we're going to flash this weaponry, they're going to give us the money, and we're going to run out. You've seen those movies, but you've also seen this in the movie. The one person freaks out and grabs the mask and pulls the mask off of the face of one of the people. And then what happens? That person gets shot. Or if the person pulls the mask off and everybody sees what the person looks like, oh no, what happens? That criminal shoots everybody, right? Now, they didn't intend on shooting anybody, but because of the circumstances, because, well, I might as well do this now. They saw me. I might as well make sure there's no witnesses. That's what happens. Sometimes once the chain has started, once the chain of events has started, there's no stopping it, and bad things happen, right? If you got a gun and you're robbing somebody, right? And all you want to do is take their car. You start going, wait a minute. Maybe I can take this person around and make them empty their ATM, use their ATM card to get me some more money. Or, and then you see these crimes on TV and you see these crimes in real life. And very similar to what I just described in the movie, back in my hometown, there was a big story a long, long time ago where a guy goes into a place to rob a guy. I think the guy owed him some money. And unfortunately, his mask slipped off. All these people see him, and a whole bunch of people got taken off of this plane of existence because his mask came down. It was a big story in my hometown 1.5 million years ago. And that's what happens. Once the flow of activity starts, once the crime starts, a lot of times the person just takes your car. Like in my case, I didn't resist. I'm not getting shot over the car like that, right? Or what about somebody else wasn't as calm, cool, and collected as I was and freaked out and didn't move fast enough, right? This person probably just wants to take the car, had no intention of shooting you. They had the gun just in case. But if they didn't have the gun, if they didn't have bullets in the gun, had they not chosen to try to carjack somebody, they wouldn't have been in a position where, oh no, you wind up shooting somebody. Now, I say this to tell you what I'm talking about. I was sharing an apartment with somebody. Sometimes you do comedy condos. And we're staying in an apartment, and we're all getting paid. And I know at the time we were getting paid in cash. And if you get paid in cash, that means the wait staff probably know you got paid in cash. That means the waitresses probably know you got paid in cash, which means their boyfriends and girlfriends probably know you got paid in cash. It's probably common knowledge that the comics in this comedy condo are paid in cash, right? So what I decided to do was they stayed the night and I got in my car and got the hell out of there because I'm not getting robbed. You know what I mean? And I think one or two times those guys got robbed, but it didn't happen to me. Why? Because I was in my car on the freeway while they were staying in the hotel. Hell no. And like I said, this kind of mentality stays with me today. I'm always on the lookout for these things. I always check all the windows. I always check all the doors. I double check everything just to be sure. One time, a girl I was staying with used to laugh at me all the time because when we would come into the spot, I would go out back and I would take the grill and I would drag the grill across the yard and put it behind the big tree so you couldn't see it from the street. And I would take the lawn chairs that she had out there and I would drag them into the house, fold them up. And they were big, heavy chairs, but I folded them up and put them inside the house. And she was used to having them outside. She goes, "Why do you keep dragging in those lawn chairs? Why do you keep dragging that grill around? We use the grill all the time. You're just going to have to drag it back." You see, she didn't live in an area that was similar to the area that I lived in. She was not subject to any kind of criminal activity, meaning people doing bad things or attempting to do bad things to you. She didn't grow up around some of the people that I grew up around, didn't become friends with, but knew them. She didn't grow up like that, so she didn't think the same way I thought. She's thinking, who's going to want a grill? Nobody's going to climb through the fence to get that grill. Who wants lawn chairs? Nobody's going to climb through the fence to get lawn chairs. She used to laugh at me when I would put the club on my car when I was just running into a corner store. You know, you go to a corner store in your neighborhood, you're only going to be in there about 5-6 minutes. You're going to go in there. You're going to ask them to make you a sandwich. You're going to go in there. You're going to grab some chips. You're going to go in there. You're going to grab some whatever. You're only going to be in there tops 5-10 minutes. But I always methodically put the club on my steering wheel. For those of you that are in different countries, let me explain what it's called. The club, and essentially it's a metal bar that hooks into the steering wheel of your car. It extends in a way that you can't turn the steering wheel once it's locked onto the steering wheel. You can't turn the steering wheel. Now, if you have the kind of car a professional thief, like if you have a Bugatti and you put a club on the Bugatti, anybody trying to steal a Bugatti has the tools. They'll just cut the steering wheel off. You know what I'm saying? Throw the club on the ground and then push the car up into the back of a truck and drive it off. It's not going to help with that, but it really helps with the guy that's the opportunistic thief. That's basically what that's for. It's basically a deterrent, a visual deterrent, so people can see it and go, I'm going to the next car. Back to the story. And she ridiculed me for putting the club on. That's because she's never had a car stolen. And I have. I was in the car and there was a gun to my head, but it still counts as a car theft, does it not? Right? So she made fun of me for that. And I tried to explain to her, I said, listen, babe, where I come from, the place that I come from, I've actually had relatives and friends have chairs stolen off of their porch while they were in the house. The person had the stones to ease up on the porch and very quietly ease the metal chairs, and they were cute chairs, metal chairs off the porch. And these people did that to a bunch of people. They would sneak up and ease the chairs off the porch. Remember, there were no Ring cameras back then, right? If you didn't see it, you didn't see it. And you come out and say, where the hell are my chairs? And you look at your neighbor's porch, where the hell are your chairs? And there'd be 5 or 6 houses. Where are the chairs? And some dude pulled up with a truck in the middle of the night and very slowly and methodically eased the chairs onto the back of the truck. Probably either kept the chairs or melted them down for the metal. But in any case, you don't have your chairs. Oh no. It got to the point where people would literally, and it looks so bad because the chairs look really nice on the porch, but there were people chaining their chairs to cement pegs on the ground so you couldn't take the chairs, right? With thick chains that it would really be really difficult to use bolt cutters on them. And that wasn't good enough deterrent because they didn't get their chairs stolen, but it looked like their chairs were in the chain gang or something like that. It's like all the aesthetic pleasure of looking at the chairs, which were wonderful looking chairs. The second you look down, it's like, oh, this is the kind of chain you would use to hold an elephant at the circus. What the heck is this crap? Kind of mess it up. So that's the place that I'm coming from. And she understood that. You are right. Those chairs, they cost like $200. And I guess if somebody stole the chair, they could probably sell it for like $150. I said, no, they'd sell the chair for like $25. Why would you only sell the chair for $25? First of all, it looks good. You take good care of your chairs. True. But it costs them nothing but jumping over a fence. They're not going to haggle. They're probably just going to try to sell it for some drugs. They ain't worried about that. Oh, yeah. And your grill costs $300. They could probably sell that for something. You know what I mean? They're going to, when somebody's going to steal something, they're going to steal something, but that's not the point. I didn't bring the chairs in and I didn't move the grill out of sight because I was afraid someone was going to steal the grill. I was afraid that the person who was going to come over the fence would turn into a might as well bandit. What's that? A might as well bandit. Think about it. If they don't come over the fence, that means they're not even thinking about it. It means that's the kind of person who's an opportunistic thief, but they don't have the courage or the evil intent to come over the fence. But once they're over the fence, I could take the chair. Yeah. But there's going to be a percentage of them that realize that now they're right at the door, the back door. And this person may pop the door open and stick their head in. And sometimes these criminals will just stick their head in real quick. They don't want to deal with the people living in the house. They're just going to try to take whatever's right there in the basement, whatever's right there, whatever I can see right now. It's a TV. I'm going to pick that up and walk it out. It's a lawnmower here. I'm going to pick it up very quietly, walk out. There's some stuff on the table. Oh, somebody left their wallet. I'm just going to take that and walk out. But wait a minute. Somebody got over the fence and they got to the chairs and they stole the chairs. And then you have another person who goes, well, I might as well try the door. And that person moves in and they grab whatever's right there. But what about they get some of that stuff to the car and the door? The back door is still open and no one was moving around. There's no dog and they don't hear anyone stirring. Might as well go up to the living room. There's probably purses and wallets up there. Stereo. I mean, they didn't notice me in the basement. So let me go up to the living room. And then they go up to the living room. Might as well. You didn't hear anything in the basement. Might as well go to the living room. And they go to the living room and they got the purses and they take another television and they take the stereo and they make it down past the living room, down through the basement, out to the back of their car. And you still haven't woken up. Now, for most of them, they realize they pressed their luck and they'll get the heck out of there and they'll be laughing in the car. Those fools didn't even wake up. But what if the person who does this has even more evil intentions, right? You're upstairs naked with your woman. Or maybe your kids are upstairs in their room, right? Maybe those kids have PlayStations. Maybe you've got a safe upstairs. Maybe. And all of a sudden now you got somebody in your room with a mask on. Ooh. I don't want to even talk about what could happen in that situation. We're going to not even bring that up. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Maybe the mask slips off. Oh no. It's a chain of events that you don't want to happen. And I didn't mean to scare her because as I'm telling her this, she has the same look on her face as if she's watching a horror movie. And she goes, is that really possible? I said, how many times have you watched the television news and seen horrific things happening to people because they didn't take precautions? People walking back outside because they were so used to the neighborhood being so great that, I mean, how many times do you have to have somebody leave their car door open? Leave their keys in the car with the car door unlocked? How much time are you saving? 6 seconds? Why would you leave your car door unlocked? Why would you leave your car keys in the car? Why would you do that? Right? And you should be able to do that. You should be able to keep your door unlocked while you're in the house and only lock it when you leave. You should be able to do that. But do you? I don't. There's a lot of might as well bandits out there. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be something as evil as crime. It could be might as well infidelity. How about that, right? I've been on the other end of that. I've never cheated, but I've been on the other end of that, right? You trust your spouse and they've never given you, oh, I've never been married, but you trust your girlfriend or boyfriend. They've never given you a reason to doubt them. You give them all the trust in the world. You give them all the trust in the world, and all of a sudden they have a work husband or a work wife, a person at work that they get a little bit too close with, right? Somebody who gets so close to them, they're not doing anything, and your significant other is not thinking of them romantically, but they think of them as someone that whose company they enjoy. Not a problem until they start calling the house. If it's not about work, why is this person who's not the significant other calling the house? Right? And your girlfriend or your wife or your husband always goes into the other room to talk on the phone because you asked them to go in the room because they talk too loud. But now all of a sudden, instead of going, oh, all right, let me go in the other room, they happily go in the other room. You didn't tell them they had to close the door. And why are they laughing so loud? Well, not a big deal. I trust them. And as the bond grows deeper with the work husband, work wife, and the phone calls start to come in, and nothing happened before, so why should you worry about it? All of a sudden, they start dressing up a little bit more, not necessarily provocatively, but much better than they need to for work. And they start working late, and that person starts having lunch with them all the time, right? And maybe they give the person a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And they accidentally, the sides of the mouth touch a little bit, right? And it's exciting, right? And the next thing you know is a little peck on the mouth. It's just like grandpa, right? Yeah, but grandpa doesn't have his hand on your butt like this guy does, huh? And all of a sudden, it's a kiss at lunch. No tongue, but a kiss that's a little bit too long. And then the next thing, it is a little tongue. And the next thing, you know, old Jed's a millionaire. And all of a sudden, that dude is digging all into your wife's panties. Or that lady is digging all into your husband's drawers. And they're doing some stuff they don't need to be doing. And they feel guilty afterward. Right? And they go home and they expect you to notice that there's something different, but you don't because you trusted them. Ooh. At one point, it was just a friend at work, and then it became a little more. They might as well do it, right? It's not like you care. You didn't even notice. You didn't care. Why would you? I've been in that situation before. I didn't do anything, but there was a lady at work that I found so physically attractive, I almost couldn't think straight. But I'm a faithful man. And the fact that I didn't, take her to the bedroom and give her that good deep business so good as Christmas lets me know that I'm not a cheater. Because if I was going to cheat, that would have been the time. Okay? And she made it very, very clear that she wanted me to, how can I put this, be inside her all night, every night. If you understand what I'm saying. Pretty blatant, right? But I didn't do it because I had a girlfriend, and I didn't even touch her like that. I didn't send any kind of signal. I was her type, right? But I didn't do anything. But I could see how a person could go, well, my girlfriend's been kind of mean to me, and we haven't done anything in like 2 weeks because she's so concentrating on work, and she ain't exactly, I'm like, I give her a hug and she just give me this little peck on the cheek, and she don't even give me anything. But this fine, delicious woman over here is basically begging me, right? My girlfriend, obviously, she don't care. If she ain't gonna do that with me for 2 weeks, she obviously don't care, so I might as well. We all have the potential to become a might as well bandit. The potential is always there. I'm very proud of the fact that I did not become a might as well bandit, because if it was ever going to happen, that's when it would have happened. Now, in retrospect, when I think about it now, decades later, like I said, I don't want to have been a cheater. But there's a part of me that's like, man, you should have taken her back to your apartment and given her that good deep business, because I found out that the person I was faithful to wasn't faithful to me, and I missed out on my opportunity to enjoy that delicious woman who probably would still be with me right now. But it's still better that I kept my integrity intact. Oh, I wish I'd have jumped on top of her. Anyway, moving on. So what I'm saying, my friends, is you got to be careful, man. You got to be careful because the might as well bandits may strike. You got to protect yourself at all times, man. You can't be lacking, right? To this day, I make sure that there's no opportunities or very, very small opportunities. I make sure that when it comes to that kind of thing, I stay under the radar. You have no reason to come into my yard, no reason to do any of that stuff, no reason. And when it comes to women, when I'm dating a woman, I make sure that I do not put myself in any kind of position where I would even think about becoming a might as well bandit. Just don't want to do it. So I would suggest to you, my friends, look around yourself. Stay away from the might as well bandits that might attack you, and do whatever you have to do to make sure that you don't become a might as well bandit, because the repercussions of both are bad. You dig? You know what? I just realized there is a way where you could become a might as well bandit in a good way, right? Because you listen to this podcast every week. You might as well tell somebody about it, right? You might as well tell your friends and family about this podcast. You might as well, right? You might as well rate and review this podcast 5 stars, please. You might as well subscribe to this podcast. Hey, you love this podcast. You might as well listen to my other podcast, The S. Anthony Thomas Show. You might as well rate and review that one and subscribe to that one too. You might as well, right? And I love doing this podcast, so I might as well do another one next week. In fact, I think I will. Much love to you, my friends. Thank you for listening. I will talk to you next week. And if you've noticed, I actually have my voice back. All right, my friends. Thanks for listening. Take care.